On today's Fit to Eat, I'll be preparing a coffee-crusted pork loin with blackberry broccoli sauce and seared tomato. Our guest is Tim Bradford, who's going to tell us about how the Society of St. Andrew is working to use Mississippi-grown sweet potatoes to end hunger. We're also going to check out a local coffee roaster in Jackson, and registered dietitian Rebecca Turner will share her very own healthy homemade coffee creamer recipe. It's going to be a great show, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Fit to Eat. I'm your host, Rob Stinson. Today's guest is the program coordinator at the Society of St. Andrew, Tim Bradford. Tim, it's great to have you on the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
I have a funny feeling we're going to have a great time together because I tell you what, I'm using a lot of stuff you're going to be very familiar with.
Good.
So let's talk about what we're going to do. I'm going to take some beautiful coffee and crust some pork loin and cook it, top it with a broccoli and blackberry sauce, and then we're going to sear some sweet potatoes and tomatoes, and I mean, it is going to be outstanding.
I'm already hungry.
And I got a funny feeling, and I think I'm going to cook an extra piece of pork today for somebody. All right, so let's get started. I want to make the coffee crust itself. So we're going to take some beautiful fine ground coffee, and we're actually going to be going to the coffee roaster that actually produced this. So that'll be later in the show. So good ground coffee, some fine ground basil, a little bit of white pepper, a little bit of garlic powder. And, you know, you may not know this, but garlic powder and onion powder have no salt. Really? So you're going to notice there's no salt in this recipe at all. And then onion powder. So we've got garlic powder, onion powder, the white pepper, black pepper, and then our coffee, of course, and some ground basil. And this makes for just a perfect blending, and it's a little different than anything else that I think most people would see to put on pork. Let's add in that coarse blend now that we've gotten the powder mixed, and that pepper will just give it a little bit of zip. And I tell you what, you can see, huh? Nice and uniform there.
Look good.
All right, now here's the fun part. We're going to get into talking a little bit about the Society of St. Andrew, because I'll bet you, I mean, I love the whole concept. Right. Well, I'll tell you what. Go ahead. Explain a little bit about what that is, and I'm going to take and bring this pork over here.
Yeah. Well, the Society of St. Andrews is a nonprofit organization that's about gleaning and bringing fresh produce to needy recipients from 8 states in the United States, from Florida all the way up to Indiana.
No kidding.
And we're about making sure that producers that we know, we get fresh produce and fresh food and bring it to recipients anywhere in Mississippi that has a food pantry, food bank, a food ministry anywhere in Mississippi.
Well, that's incredible.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the word gleaning. What does that mean?
Gleaning means the farmer allows us to go into the fields after they've harvested, and all that is harvested there, we get to distribute to needy people around.
So this is almost like an excess.
It's an excess, and farmers in Mississippi has always been abundant, so we are always receiving a lot of abundant food from farmers all across Mississippi.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Wow, what a great cause. I can't picture anything much better than that. And I tell you what we're going to do here. I notice on this pork, we're very cautious on the fat intake. So we've got some beautiful pork loin, and they're cut in such a way, but I want to trim off the edge. And I tell you what we'll do, right there where you can see it, that little bit on the edge, and all we have to do, and with a good sharp knife, you'll notice it'll come right off, and we get rid of that. So there's a perfect product finished. So we're going to do that with each of these. And this is how the pork will come if people buy a loin in the store. You know, it's always going to have a little bit of fat, and why? Well, it keeps the juice in, but it also gives them a little bit more weight. So, you know, they make a little more money by selling it this way.
That's exactly right.
So I'm going to do 3 of them. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take and put some Creole mustard. This is where it gets a little different. On each one of these pork loins. And we spread it kind of evenly. And what this is like the glue. Like when you batter fish to fry it, you dip it in, say, in egg wash. Well, this is a trick that a French chef showed me years ago, and I loved it. So then we're going to take this and sprinkle right on top, and it looks like a lot of this is not going to stay, so that's why we have a lot of extra. So we're going to put it all over each one of those little pork loins, and literally 2 is a portion. That's about 5 ounces.
Right.
So I think there is an extra one for you. All right, little oil. Now, we are very conscious not to put any more than about a half a teaspoon of oil in that hot pan, and that pan is warm already so that it will crust the pork.
Right.
And then the trick, I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit, and you'll see I'm going to kind of shake off some of that pepper and coffee.
Wow.
And Creole mustard and all that good stuff. Get that oil over here. Okay. And it really only needs it on one side. You don't want to be too overpowering. So what we're going to do is just kind of take all of this out of the way, move it in back here. And careful too, you know, the one thing I want to be real conscious of, handling pork, I've got a nice little bleach cloth. Handling pork, I don't want to cut our vegetables on the same board, and this is something I try to show people as we're doing this. Okay, so talk a little bit now. I've heard tell that I'm using some very product that you guys are working distributing, namely sweet potatoes, of course. Huh?
Exactly. In the last several weeks, we've actually distributed over 70,000 pounds of sweet potatoes.
Wait, time out.
Yes.
70,000 pounds?
7,000 pounds, and that's just in the month of June. And we've also had a chance this past week glean over 4,000 pounds of fresh tomatoes from the greenhouses.
Wow.
And we had a chance to pick at least several hundred pounds of blackberries from one of our growers in North Mississippi this past several weeks.
Well, I think, because when I got the blackberries, I was so excited, you know, and I mean, they were gorgeous. I mean, look at them. They're beautiful.
They're beautiful.
Well, we're going to take those next because I'm going to use those in the sauce. And I tell you what, people watching this show, and I know you and I talked about it, will never, ever remember all the ingredients. So they can go to mpbonline.org/fit to eat. And that's important. I think people need to find it. So on these, I like to slice them open, and then we're going to use them in the sauce that way. You can cut them in quarters, but some of them are small enough that I'll leave them whole, like that one. But the bigger ones, to me, it just gives it a really neat kind of feel and texture so that they know that they're eating a blackberry.
Right.
And I mean,
they look
perfect.
Great.
You know, utterly amazing I don't know if people out there really get the volume of what you're talking about, but that's absolutely astounding when you think 70,000 pounds. I mean, I've got several restaurants, and I go through a lot of produce. I would bet I don't go through that in a year, you know? I mean, and not trying to be funny about it, but it's true. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Okay, so we've got that done, and I think where we're going to go next is to take the pork at this point, and watch what we do. It looks perfectly blackened with that coffee crust. That's exactly what you want. And you notice none of it came off. And why? Because we didn't move the pan. That is like a trick that I learned when I was working with the French chef. You know, a little piece of that one did, but, you know, unfortunately, we can, I mean, it's going to still have the same flavor. But what's nice now is we can turn the heat down low. And what I'm going to ask you to do is grab that pan, the one up in the right corner, and set it right on that burner. And then if you'll take this pan and put it over on the right, and then we can turn that heat way down, and that pork is just going to simmer. So now let's get ready for this sauce, and this sauce is really fun. We're going to throw these blueberries right in.
Blackberries.
I mean blackberries, correct, thank you. Good hot pan. And then we're going to take our broccoli, and all I'm going to do is just cut it off so it'll break into little florets, and throw this in. Try to use the tops because they're so beautiful, huh? And we've got probably, well, I forgot you're eating, huh?
That's right, that's right.
I better make a little bit extra, huh?
Yeah. A little extra not gonna hurt.
All right, I like it. Now, garlic, onion, How spicy do you like your food? Do you like it spicy?
Yes, spicy.
I love spicy food,
Good,
so I'm
good.
I'm probably the worst. But and then black pepper to taste. All right, and now we're gonna toss all this. And I mean, is that aroma incredible? I know you're getting it right there, and it is so good. Okay, so we're doing really well on that. And right now what we're gonna do, I call it like deglazing a pan. It's just a fancy word of putting a liquid in that'll take some of the seasoning off the side. And that's sugar-free cranberry.
Wow.
So healthy.
Okay, good.
All right? And now you can really see that the sauce is starting to take shape.
It is.
Okay, we're gonna turn the temperature down on that a little bit. And I tell you, this sauce is gonna finish over a little bit of time. We can turn our pork down.
Okay.
And right now, I think we're gonna take a short break and visit the Mississippi Coffee Company in Jackson, which is where the coffee we're using on that beautiful pork recipe today came from. They're gonna tell us about the journey of the coffee bean and how they take raw green beans from around the world and roast them to perfection right here in Mississippi. Take a look.
So I first started like just buying from roasters from all over the U.S. And then after that, started roasting at home just as a hobby. Some years later, ended up venturing into like just trying it out as a business. There's a variety of ways you can do it. You can do it, in a stove, or like the first time I did it was basically in a pan on my stove top. You just get some green beans and you heat it basically the same way that you would pop popcorn. And I remember the first time I did that, set the fire alarm off at the house. No doubt it definitely wasn't that good, but just to see it go from green to brown to me was amazing. So coffee itself is a seed that comes from a fruit. It's grown and it's harvested and processed before it lands to me. We like to buy them fresh, green, as soon as they're available. And basically, once that coffee is harvested, bagged, and it's ready for us, we're typically turning that coffee over within a few months that we receive it. And that attributes a ton to the quality of it.
The way that you manipulate the roasting process has an impact on the final flavor. So there's a point about midway in a roast that's called the Maillard phase, which is something that's present in all cooking. It's basically just sugar browning. And this is the point in the roast where the beans themselves go from like a pale greenish yellow and they start to turn brown. And that's the sugars in the coffee caramelizing and browning. And this is what will give coffees like kind of chocolatey caramel, maybe even like a graham cracker type flavor.
All the coffees that we bring in, they go through an evaluation process and referred to as a cupping. And when you're cupping coffees, there are basically like 5 things that you're looking for. One, you want to observe like the smell of it. That's sort of the introduction of the coffee. The next thing is the flavor. What does the coffee taste like? The next thing is the acidity. What kind of like, how bright is it? Does it pop? And then we're also looking at the body. That's basically like the mouthfeel of it. That's like comparing water to milk, right? Milk has a heavier body, more of a creamier texture. And then the final thing that we evaluate is the finish. Does it hang around for a while on your palate, or does it dissipate really, really quickly? I always like to use an example. If I start the day with a great cup of coffee, I'm gonna have a better chance of having a great day. If you wake up in the morning and your coffee tastes horrible, guess what? You start your day off with a bad taste in your mouth, literally. And so if you can start off with a good taste in your mouth, you have a better chance of having like a good day. And I think all of those things sort of go into coffee and why people enjoy it.
Welcome back to Fit to Eat. If you're just joining us, Tim Bradford and I are right in the middle of preparing today's recipe. I tell you what, you gotta admit, it looks pretty darn good, huh?
It's looking wonderful right now.
And this sounds like it's all stuff you're familiar with,
Oh,
huh?
yeah, exactly. Everything we've been using.
I mean, it's amazing when and coming in and looking at those beautiful blackberries and that broccoli and then tomatoes coming up and sweet potatoes.
Yes.
All the good stuff, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to finish this sauce. So what we're going to do now, this is another unique dish. applesauce.
Wow.
And this is unsweetened, 100% natural, organic applesauce. And what that does, it's going to actually thicken the sauce kind of naturally. You see that? And it's got all those wonderful little flavors going on. That's garlic all through there. I love it. And everything feels nice and tender. Let's turn some of the broccoli over so it cooks down. And I'm going to turn the heat up just a little touch. Get it bubbling some. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did. And I'm going to have us switch this to the other side. So I'm going to take, and if you'll just pop that one up and over. And then we can turn this burner off and set this one right up on that hot burner. And we'll be good to go. All right, so now we have the fun. Now we're really working with what you're familiar with.
Exactly.
Huh? Tomatoes, sweet potatoes, all this fun stuff. We're going to make another seasoning mix.
Okay.
Very similar in some ways. Black pepper, white pepper. And again, I know I'm harping on this. It is basically garlic powder and onion powder. And the way that it comes out like this, it actually takes it to where there's no salt. And I think that really makes it work well.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to blend this together. This is a little dry mustard here. We want it to be kind of consistent. The flavor is going to go over all of these, and it's not a heavy coating that we're going to do. So what we do next, I'm going to put the sweet potatoes on a plate and try and get them to where a good flat side is showing. Then I'm going to take and just put a little bit of stock. This is salt-free vegetable stock. And really, this is kind of like the glue again. That'll get the seasoning to stay on there.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is just kind of take it and spread it over these. When you were talking about sweet potatoes, you know, I've known for years about Vardaman, but really did not realize what an amount our state produces in general. And I tell you what, that's just astounding when you think about it.
And we're just beginning. This is, we carry this on all year long, and we distribute them all year long.
Really? Wow. All right, so our oil in the pan. And now what I'm going to do is very similar to what we did on the other. Put them down, and this is a little bit hotter. Going to sear in that side of the sweet potatoes. And then I'm going to come back, because they got a little bit on both sides now, and season it, and then turn that heat down and let those kind of roast in the pan. And these will cook through.
Is the thickness of the potato a key in searing these?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, the thing that I love about sweet potatoes, they're so healthy for you. And a lot of people do not realize that, you know. It's got so many varieties you can do with them. Savory, where it's something like we're doing today. You can put a little cinnamon, nutmeg, create something that's almost like a holiday version of them. And then we're going to basically kind of take this, now that we've seared that side, we're going to cook them through, and look how pretty that is.
Wonderful.
Isn't that incredible?
Beautiful, beautiful.
And I mean, people think about baking them, and that's just one variety. I mean, there's so much you can do with sweet potatoes.
Wow.
They look good.
That's pretty.
Woohoo!
I'm ready to eat.
I know. I mean, it's starting to look pretty darn colorful, huh? So what do we need to talk about? What's the next direction? Like, I've heard that you do a big event like once a year. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, every year, annually, we do a crop drop at Jackson State. Sometimes we do it twice or semi-annually.
But you said a crop drop, so in other words, like bringing
actually, a crop drop, we're bringing in 20 to 40,000 pounds of produce or mixture. And we get the Jackson State students to work with packaging it up and distributing it out to the local community area as they come through by Jackson State area.
No kidding.
Yes.
Now, wait, you're talking about them giving this away?
Yes, giving all the food is free. And we just ship it in and make sure that they have an opportunity to do community service and give it into the community. And this way, it reaches a lot of needy people in the communities.
That's just unbelievable, you know. And I think that this is a great venue for people to find out what the Society of St. Andrew is all about. How did you get started in this?
Well, I've been around farming all my life, and of course, I've been working with Society of St. Andrews for about 12 years as a volunteer. And from that, I became a program director this January. And now I get a chance to pass out 4 million pounds of food annually.
Jeez.
Yes.
4 million pounds of food.
4 million pounds of food annually.
4 million pounds of
Yes.
food.
Yes.
That's like unbelievable. All right, well, I tell you what, you can go to mpbonline.org/fit to eat to get these recipes.
Yes.
And a lot of people who are getting your food can go to that,
Exactly.
find out other ways that they can make use of all this beautiful produce that you've got.
Right.
And right now, we're going to take a quick break and check in with registered dietitian Rebecca Turner. She's got a great recipe for a healthy homemade coffee creamer. Check it out.
Do you start your day with a cup of coffee? Studies suggest that a daily cup of coffee may protect against diabetes, Parkinson's disease, and liver cancer. But those health benefits come from the brewing of the coffee beans. So unless you drink it black, you can quickly overshadow the health benefits of coffee with unnecessary fat, added sugar, or artificial sweeteners found in creamers and flavorings. But there's a middle ground, and it starts with making your own, healthier coffee creamer. To make vanilla coffee creamer at home, start with 2 cups of non-fat milk, which provides 0 saturated fat linked to heart disease, but there's plenty of essential nutrients for strong bones and a healthy heart. You'll need 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Remember, you're making a big batch here, so there is no added sugar in whipping cream. Now choose the sweetness of your choice. You have a 1/2 cup of sugar or stevia, or you can choose to stir in 1/4 cup of honey. A little sweetness can go a long way in the morning. Pinch of salt, and then add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now on your stove, I want you to place the heavy cream in a pan, and I want you to heat over medium heat until it starts to bubble. Then add in the sugar and cook for about 2 minutes, stirring it constantly. Stir in the vanilla extract and then remove it from the heat. Slowly mix in your milk and then place it in a jar in the fridge. Now before you add it to your coffee, give it a little shake. You can boost your enthusiasm to tackle the day by adding flavor to your coffee without weighing it down. If you do this, your coffee will be fit to drink.
Welcome back to Fit to Eat. I'm here with Tim Bradford from the Society of St. Andrew, and we're almost done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's almost sad, but it's fun, huh?
I can't wait.
I love hungry people.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do some seared tomatoes. Same seasoning that we used on those potatoes,
Okay.
but only on one side. The tomatoes don't need too much, so the same thing that we did with the pork. Now, a little bit of oil in a hot pan,
Okay.
and tomatoes do not need to grill long. You'll see. This is
sear
going to
them a little
happen. Yeah, this will
Okay.
happen very quickly. So let's go ahead and throw one. God, look at how beautiful those are. Huh? I mean, I'm just utterly amazed about the whole prospect of what you guys do.
Right.
I really am. I mean, I think it's absolutely fantastic, and not enough people know about it. I know that I have heard of the Grib down on the Gulf Coast.
Right.
But you're throughout the whole state, huh?
We're throughout the whole state and Arkansas.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Boy, that's just incredible. Well, as we get those, what we're going to do, I'm going to start working on actually finishing this plating.
Okay.
So we're going to take that. Look at those. Oh,
good.
my
Wow.
gosh.
That's good.
Yep, I've got the pork on the plate already, and I'm going to set the sauce kind of around it. I just love all the color contrast that this plate's going to have. And then I'm going to take just a little bit and put right up on top. And then put the rest around the edge. You know, somehow, some of that sauce found its way to a plate over here by me.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I got a hunch, and I might just let you go ahead and sample one bite while we're getting ready
yeah,
here.
That's what I've been waiting for right here.
There we go. So, what's your thoughts? Isn't that unusual, though? Together, who would have thought of it? Look how fast those tomatoes cook, too, huh? Isn't that incredible? So, I know it's kind of hard because it's awfully filling, but those are something I'm very proud of.
And you don't taste any coffee.
No, I know. But it gives the pork flavor, because you know, pork by itself is kind of bland. It really is. I'll save one for later for you, too. I get a wow? I love that. I love that. Let's take then, put these tomatoes now over here on the side. Even set one kind of right over on the side up here. And I tell you what, that is such a great presentation, in my opinion, of food that you would never think of going together.
That's right.
So coffee-crusted pork, blackberry and broccoli, which could come right out basically of your service.
Right.
Sweet potatoes that are savory.
Right.
You know, instead of yams like people think of for holidays.
Right.
And then just some beautiful grilled tomatoes. You know, it really is a perfect balanced meal. It's healthy.
It is.
It's going to be very flavorful.
It is.
And I think that's the fun part of what we do here. I tell you what, I cannot even begin to tell you, and I mean this in sincerity, I mean, you're just to be commended. What the Society of St. Andrew does, and the fact you've been involved in this your whole life one way or another, huh?
Well, thank you. I have been, and this is fit to eat.
I love that.
You can get all the flavors in here. My recipe's gonna
Can
be
I
glad.
quote you on that?
Yes, it's fit to eat.
Well, look, we're out of time, but I think everything turned out great. I want to thank Tim Bradford from the Society of St. Andrew for joining us today. If you want to learn more about anything you've seen in this episode, then head over to mpbonline.org/fit-to-eat. And don't forget to follow and like our Facebook page. Until next time, I'm your host, Rob Stinson. Eat well.